Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Night Live, your favorite automotive show where we talk about the issues that affect the customer experience at your store, whether it's the front of the store, the back of the store, or somewhere in between. I don't really care. The better the experience the customers have, the more they come back to you for everything they need when they need it. And guess what? They'll bring their family, their co-workers, the people they go to church with, the people they play pool with. Their entire tribe, they will bring to you because they like and they trust you. But that's something that's easily flubbed up, and then they're gone forever. And I'm very fortunate. I've got a great network of connections and friends and colleagues that come on here weekly to share with you what they've done or what they are doing now to help improve the customer experience at your stores. Actionable items that you can use tomorrow. All right. And this week, a very important topic, the BDC. That's a department that does not get a lot of love. There are dealerships that I go into, their BDC department is an old break room they used to have that's off to the side, not very well lit. They have a bunch of crap in there, boxes, things like that. And these people don't get a lot of love. But it's a very important part of the business because let's face it, we're very good at selling cars when the customers are in front of us. But the reality is the follow-up and the responses, not so much. I'm going to share some stats with you. These are general follow-up stats, okay? 80% of sales require 5 to 12 follow-ups. 80%, just think about that. That's a huge number. Only 2% of sales are made on the first contact. And 44% of salespeople give up after one follow-up. So what does that do to you, right? What you're spending to get people in the door, if it takes 5 to 12 on average, and that's not even automotive, that's in general. In automotive, 7 to 11 follow-ups is considered a strong benchmark. So if these people give up on the first call, you're spending a lot of money to get leads to come in and phone calls to happen that are not being responded to. So I'd like to welcome our guest. I've got Ricky Lopez and I have Peter Cameron. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
How are you? Nice to having us.
All right. If you could just share with the audience a little bit about your background and how you got to this point, starting with Peter.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So I've been working with Impel for the last 3.5 years. That was my first foray into automotive. Prior to that, I was working in a completely different field. And I started out doing regular customer success work and now have kind of worked through the channels to become the national performance manager at Impel. So I work exclusively with our business with Lithia. So I manage all of our business that Impel does with Lithia, including all the stores that are signed up using our products and including one here with Ricky.
Excellent. Well, welcome, Peter. Ricky.
Hey, thanks, Paul. My name is Ricky Lopez. I've been in the automotive industry about 17, 18 years, all internet and BDCs. I've ran some desks, but mostly it's just been preparing and building BDCs and internet, anywhere from 10 BDC to 30 BDC people. We've done anywhere from 100 to 300 units per month on different BDCs. And I'm with the Lithia Group, and right now I'm at the Chrysler Jeep Dodge store in Sanford, Florida, beautiful Florida. And thanks for having me on your show.
Excellent, excellent. Oh, I want to give the disclaimer that there is some glitch with StreamYard. They say it's LinkedIn. LinkedIn says it's StreamYard. And what that glitch is that sometimes somebody will comment, yet we won't see it. So if we're not responding to you, it may mean that we haven't seen your comment. That comment will show up after the show goes off. You can feel free to message me or text me in that event, and I'll try to answer your question in real time. So starting us off, we have Nathan Williams. Good Sunday evening. Looking forward to tonight's automotive goodies. By the way, was there a show last week? Because nothing was posted about it beforehand. Nope, I had something come up last week, so I was not able to. I always announce the show before we do one, generally a few days before the show. If we're going to have one. So we do most Sundays, but there are some Sundays that things do come up. I'm involved in several different enterprises, and that means that unfortunately there's only 24 hours in a day. Every once in a while we have to skip a show. So Nathan says, well, that's why they say the fortune is in the follow-up. You are 100% correct. All right, so I've shopped, as part of what I do, I shop stores. Okay, I help people buy cars, so that means I'm shopping different dealerships, all different makes. And what I get back is a lot of the same. Okay, I get back generic emails that don't address what I'm looking for, or generic emails that are basically asking me the same stuff I submitted in the lead. For me, that's a little bit annoying, because if I took the time to fill out the form, then you should at least be able to respond to me with what I asked for, right? Otherwise, you end up wasting time. People have a very short attention span today. So it's something that I've wanted to do a show on. I've done them before, but I want to do it again, because now we're heading into kind of questionable territory. All right, with the tariffs coming, prices are going up across the board, and because it's not just the cars that are made overseas. There's parts that go back and forth. To give you an idea, aluminum gets melted down in Canada, pistons get forged, they get shipped to Detroit. They're machined, they get shipped back to Canada, they're assembled, they get shipped to Mexico, where that unit is assembled into the vehicle, and then it crosses the border. So prices are going to go up, which is going to take some people out of the market. So the ones that do contact us, it's ultra important that we make the most of those. So that's where the BDC comes in. As salespeople, we used to love the phones back in the day, but it seems of late, phones are something salespeople didn't sign up for phone duty. They're not too keen on that. So some of the things we're going to cover are BDC strategy and execution, talk a little bit about call scripts and follow-up, how to engage shoppers across various channels, because they're not just in one space anymore. Talk a little bit about Latino and Hispanic marketing and why that's important for your business, and AI and behavioral data in the BDC. Are we just responding, or are we leveraging the available tools to be able to respond better in the way the customers want us to? I want to talk a little bit about customer success and relationship building, a little bit about tools and technology, team building, and training. So that's a lot of stuff. We don't always get through all of it, but we're going to do our best. So starting off with BDC strategy and execution, who wants to kick this one off?
I can take it if you don't mind. So when I got with AI, I call it the 4P, which is, first thing you do is you get with them and you plan, what's the plan going to be? That's number one. Number two, it's the people. You got to make sure. I'll start from the beginning. So the plan is you plan how you want to do it. Now, the way I wanted to do it was the lead came in. If it wasn't answered in 3 minutes, AI would pick it up. Okay. So that way we don't lose response time.
Okay.
Now the people, I chose the people that I knew were good in grammar. They love doing follow-up. They love sending emails, and they love doing videos, because most of the things you get on AI is either they want a video of the vehicle or they want a good follow-up emails. I don't want to put an old car guy, not an old car, but an old dog sales guy that, he's going to, when can you come in, or, without even trying to build relationship, Yeah. The third thing was the process. The way I wanted the process was I wanted you to build relationship with this customer, because the two things that people do the worst things. Number one, they don't read emails. So the lead comes in. I've had salespeople in the past. The lead comes in and he works it for 2 days. I go in there and he's like, nobody's responding. I go in there and I go to the bottom of the lead where the lead originally came in, click on it and said, yeah, I want to see if you had a door handle for a 2021, minivan. I said, did you even read that? I said, you're asking the guy to come in and buy a car. He doesn't want to buy a car. He wants to buy a door handle, for God's sakes. So, and then the last thing I did was, like you said from the beginning, the number one thing in a dealership is the phones. Okay, so when you do all the process and you set the people up and you do everything and everything is clicking well, and mostly 90% of the time it goes bad in a dealership because the phone calls go all over the place. So here we go with the old car sales guy answers the phone. And so say, for instance, our girl in AI is Isabel because we have a good Hispanic area.
Yeah.
And so, they answer the phone. Yeah, yeah. Can I speak to Isabel because she's giving me information on her car? Well, she doesn't work here. We had one guy the other day. Oh yeah, we had one guy the other day. The customer came in. He was all excited. We had him set up on the car and everything. And he goes, "Yeah, I've been working with Isabel. They told me to see Ricky. Is Isabel here? I want to say hi." Oh, that's that chick on the on AI. Well, the guy got offended because he thought he was stupid from working with this person that doesn't exist. So of course we had to sit him down and let him know, hey, you cannot, if it's the AI young lady, you go get Ricky or you go get another manager and you say, yeah, no problem. Let me see if she's available. But you don't make the customer. So those are the things. The phone is the key. You can have the best processes in the world. It's like, for instance, when we did some marketing in Spanish, they send out and spend so much money, the leads were coming into the regular phone lines. So, it's like, well, we got a bunch of phone calls, but they hung up and nobody answered. Well, who answered them? Nobody in Spanish answered them. So, of course, nobody's going to, so that to me, the key is the phones. So I'll let you jump in on this. I don't want to take your whole show here because I can go forever on this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, so what our tool does, I would say, an AI tool, is working with internet leads as they come in with phone, with emails or text, right? So if they provide their phone numbers, the AI can text them as well. And the purpose here is to provide consistent professional responses to customers pretty much immediately when they come in 24/7, so that you can meet the customer, where they are at with their shopping, right? If they're sitting on the couch with their spouse at 9 o'clock and, winding down the day, watching something and on their phone and thinking, it is time to upgrade our vehicle. And I put in a lead, we don't want that lead to sit there until the morning where maybe they changed their mind or maybe they went down the street to a different dealership or whatever. We want that lead if they're, got questions or they're going to set an appointment. That's where the AI is going to be there immediately to pick it up and be able to work that customer down the funnel and then, move it to a point where either the sales team can get involved the next morning or we can set appointments directly in the CRM. Right. So it can happen all with very quickly. Usually these conversations can happen in 5 minutes. Right. So from 9 o'clock to 9:05 p.m., all of a sudden we have an appointment for the next day for Ricky and their team to tackle. But as Ricky's saying, the biggest leverage and benefit that you can get from using an AI tool is that it frees up the administrative type of work that is usually loaded on top of salespeople, BDC reps, et cetera, right? Like emails and texts, like the number of tasks that a BDC rep has when a lead comes in, varies by store, but I've seen stores that have, processes that are like so overloaded with task management that are sometimes redundant. They're not super high value, especially like an email going out from a CRM has a really low open rate. They tend to get tripped up in spam.
Generic.
So yeah, it's generic and it's not usually a very high value task. Whereas a phone call is usually the highest value task, right? But we want a store to do more phone calls, but not have to worry about some of the administrative work that usually comes with lead management and that's what the AI can help solve, right? So it takes the big drudgery work of, okay, I got to send emails, I got to, trying to get engagement. You don't have to worry about that as much because the AI can take care of that and your team can focus on getting on the phones or, test drives or anybody walks in the store, like they can focus their attention on building relationships that actually matter because those are the higher value tasks that sell a vehicle, right? Like to get on the phone and make a phone call is going to have a better conversion than them having to do 100 different things and not know if this is even like a customer that's in market, all that. So by taking some of those tasks away from salespeople and from BDCs and allowing them to focus on their higher value tasks, more cars are sold, better retention of customers, better relationships are built. and so that's really what we're seeking to, help dealerships with, is taking some of those like difficult task things that people aren't very good at, and the replication of those tasks, and taking it off their plate so they can focus on the stuff that makes them money, makes them car sales.
A couple of things I picked up here is that because I've done this stuff myself, right? So it's not like I'm talking from a PowerPoint or a video, okay? I'm that nut job that got up in the middle of the night when the phone went ding and responded to the customer. All right? Sure. I had some templates ready to go. All I had to do was personalize it to the name of the person that inquired and a couple of other things, and I could hit send. Could be 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I would get emails back from the customer. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. You guys are open? And I'd respond, it's the internet, man. We're always open. This car that you're inquiring on is still available. I can meet with you tomorrow morning. What time is good for you, type of thing. Bam. And I'd get appointments at 3 in the morning. I put my head on the pillow and I go back to sleep. All right. Not everybody's blessed with that kind of sleep habit. A couple of other things I picked up is that, that's me, but that's not the normal world, and certainly not in today's world, where the salesmen or salespeople that we have today are not the same salespeople we had 30, 40 years ago, not even 20 years ago. They have no interest in engaging at those hours. And to your point, Peter, if somebody's at home at 9 p.m. at night and they want to find something out, they don't want to find it out tomorrow, or they would have waited till tomorrow to reach out to you. So the whole concept of a 24/7 availability is extremely appealing, because you have to cater to the customer in the way they want to be catered to and when they reach out. I like the 3-minute lead thing before they respond, before the AI picks up, because look, I walk into a lot of stores every day, and I can't tell you that every showroom is full and that every salesperson is juggling 2 customers. Okay, that's just not the case. So if you have the opportunity to be able to respond as a person, you're that much better off for it. But at the same time, you've missed nothing. The amount of business that we miss by not getting back to people is just crazy, and there's absolutely no need for it. Now, I have a question. Oh, and the other thing is, when you're doing these campaigns, right, it's very important to put in a specific tagged phone number, and that phone number is only picked up in Spanish by somebody who's fluent or quasi-fluent in Spanish, because that way, when you reach out, when that person decides to act on your offer and you pick up the phone, hola, and you go into your spiel, they're going to be a lot more comfortable, because I can guarantee you that 99% of the dealerships they reach out to, that's not the case. Let me get to a couple of comments here before we go further. Nathan Williams said, maybe contact the FCC and have them get on LinkedIn and StreamYard like white on rice to fix the problem. I think you're a little tied up right now, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to call them next week, if you know what I mean, but that's another story altogether. My good friend Larry Feldman says, hello, gentlemen. And my other brother from another mother, Stan Shear, says, hello, folks.
Hey,
so
guys.
those are some of the things that I picked up. You want to add something to them? Am I missing something? Or
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Ricky. I was just thinking too, like, one of the big problems too that dealerships face is, to me, is like there's a large amount of lead volume as people are testing, KBB ICO leads or whatever. And some of the problem is you don't know who's a real customer. You don't know who's in market, like what the reality is. And when you don't, if you're working it from a human perspective, every single lead requires the same exact level of resources in order to understand that maybe if you get 1,000 leads a month from the internet, well, maybe only 400 of those are actual like in-market leads. And you're dedicating a huge volume of resources towards 600 people that don't matter, right? They're not real. They're not actually in market. They're just, maybe testing around or whatever. And so you're just wasting a lot of time and energy and effort towards, the non-reality customers. So by sort of using something like an AI tool like Impel, it allows dealerships to focus on the real things that matter, I would say, like I said. So like phone calls to those 400 customers that are engaging with you guys, that are actually real customers. Like, how can we close 400 customers? That would be a good month, you know? So that's really a huge part of it as well.
The Glengarry leads.
Yeah. Well, and what I've done now is it's gotten so out of control, you know, that I went out and bought another phone besides my regular phone. And so when I leave, that phone goes with me. And so I answer those leads. I'm like you, I don't sleep, you know, I'm 24/7. I sleep probably in 2-hour increments every night, because a lot of time I'm either thinking about the car business or thinking about what I can do better the next day to get some ideas. And so, you know, I get up and I start reading these emails and getting back to people on AI. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but you know, but yeah, it's helped us. The two people that sell the most vehicles in our dealership in the past 2 months as we got into the AI business are both, one's going to probably do 31 cars this month and the other one's going to do 29 cars. Both of them, the last 3 days, sold 3 cars in one day, 5 cars, and then 4 today. The other one did 5, 3, and 5. So they're doing the majority. And now, of course, it's like, you know, the car business is like the NFL. If you do something that works, everybody wants to do it, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So now everybody in the dealership wants to be on the AI team, you know? And so, you know, and so it's helped us a lot. We went from 9% closing to 14% closing within 45 days. And, you know, we're not wasting leads. We're not wasting right away. The staff, it's not as big as it used to be because you don't need it anymore. You don't need to waste your time on some people that can just be out there. They're just, because it's normal salesperson nowadays. You're 100% right. All they want to do is take ups.
Right.
You know, they don't understand the bus ended years ago, but they still are waiting for the up bus. But they don't understand that it's not an up bus. Those are the people that we're bringing in through AI and the internet. But they still think, well, if I sit out here, I'm going to get 3 or 4 leads. Well, they're not leads, buddy. They're people we're bringing in for you. They're not people, because nobody drives anymore and says, hey, I'm going to go in that dealership and buy a car. You know, they'll go and get all their information. The only thing they can't do on online is drive a car. So you can get anything, you can appraise or anything. So when they get there, and that's another thing that we tell the salespeople, if the only thing they can't do on the internet is drive a car, drive the freaking car. Take them on a test drive, for God's sake. Yeah. You know, remember in the old days, the butterfly style, you know, go walk around? You don't hardly see that anymore. When I used to go to dealerships, I hardly ever saw that. Don't see it anymore.
It's a whole new world that we have today. So from a structure standpoint, it sounds like we're using less people in the BDC department because we don't need as many. Now, is the AI both conversational AI and written? So can you speak with it, or can you only engage with it via text or email?
I'll take this one. So yeah, so it is both text and email. It's a large language model that it's our own proprietary AI that we've, you know, built over the years. We first started with this tool, I would say, basically 4 years ago. You know, we're pretty early into it, and yeah, it's a conversational tool that, you know, customer can ask questions of it to an extent. You know, there are limits to what we allow for our AI to do. Like, it will not negotiate a car deal, for instance, or whatever. Yeah. The point of it is to really take those higher funnel customers and move them to the lower funnel. We can set appointments directly in the CRM. You know, we can hand it over to the sales team if a customer asks something like, you know, what's the out the door price on it? You know, anything that the store kind of designates as needing the salesperson or the BDC reps attention, that will get notified. So like Ricky over here will get a notification at 2 a.m. potentially, if he wants to set it up that way, to say, hey, this guy's got, you know, out the door price. You could jump in and communicate through the AI if you'd like, or, you know, best practices is also like allowing the, you know, the BDC or the sales team to work in tandem with the AI. So you'd want to reach out to the customer and say, hey, you know, I know you were talking to Anita, whoever the AI is, you know, that's my colleague, etc. So conversational in both email and text, for sure.
But not verbal. I can't speak with it on the phone.
Oh, no, that's not our product. Right.
Okay.
Here's what we've done is that I've given like 4 people completely access like I have. So in the old days, when you come in the morning, you follow up on your missed appointments, you follow up on people that didn't buy, I used to follow up on 3-day leads back, 3 days back. Well, now our biggest thing is you follow up on AI. You go in there and see what we missed, and then cross over with the CRM to make sure that everything was done. So if an AI set an appointment, we want to make sure that that customer got taken care of and everything. So it's changed the game a lot, and it will more in the future. I mean, AI
is learning.
Yeah, exactly. And eventually what's going to happen is the people that own these CRMs are going to be smart enough to figure out, hey, we better partner up with somebody or come up with our own AI program, because, it's perfect to build in with the CRM, And so I think you're going to see that more and more in the future, build into these systems, correctly right into the system.
So as far as
about a year from now.
As far as like call scripts, is that more or less setting up the AI system to respond certain ways, or how do you train it to have these conversations with people?
So when a store comes on board with us, they go through an implementation process where they and actually there's just a recent enhancement to the whole system that we call our dealership knowledge bank. And there's now upwards of over like 100 questions in there that a dealership will, question, is the car available? What's your warranty situation? What's the best price I can get? All of these different things that the dealership can then put in their type of answer to it. And the AI will be able to understand that answer and will give an answer that's very similar to it. So the idea here is that it's not like a copy paste, right? It would understand and just be able to speak back and forth with the customer. Like I said, to an extent, one of the challenges actually with AI, and one that we saw early on in automotive AI, was that if you take ChatGPT or something, the raw form of an AI, and put it on somebody's website or handling their leads, that doesn't mean that the AI will work in the business interests of that dealership. Right. And one of the problems there is, like, if somebody were to inquire about, let's just say, a Toyota, and they said, is this the safest vehicle for my family? And the AI, without constraints on it, can say something like, no, you should buy a Volvo. You should go down the street. You should look for a different one, right? And so putting it, actually having guardrails on it is very important to ensure that business needs are met, right? That the AI is selling for this dealership and is handling customers how they want. So the configurations allow the dealership to customize to an extent. And then again, with the idea being that appointments are fantastic. We love seeing the AI set appointments. It'll be an enhancement, but it's also there to, like I said, move customers down the funnel and identify them so that Ricky and his team can come in and just say, like, oh, okay, we got Paul here. He put in an inquiry last night. He wants to know the out-the-door price before he comes in to buy the car. I'm going to give him a call at 9 a.m., when we're all set.
Hold on a second. I want to get to a couple of comments here, and then we'll jump back into it. Nathan Williams, of course, you still have to ensure that your customers aren't feeling rushed just so that you can have more customers. 100% correct. And Stan Scherer says, I've been begging these companies to become a full CRM for 5 years. Now Stan has a BDC business that he runs for dealerships, does a great job with it. 5 years he's been asking for this, and he still has not seen it. He says AI control is like mind control. Now, I like the setup because if you can anticipate any and all questions that would be coming your way, then by having that set up within the guardrails, as you say, then the AI can really address in fluid conversation via text or email what that customer is asking about, so that it does seem very natural. And as a result, as Ricky was saying earlier, customers coming in looking for Isabel, and Isabel is
It's a
lines
computer
and
program.
lines and zeros, lines and I's and zeros, or ones and zeros.
Well,
So
here's
sorry, I
cool
didn't mean to
thing.
cut you off.
No, here's the cool thing about AI. We had a customer that I guess was upset about something, but AI picked it up. And the customer said, F you this, F you that. I'm never going to buy your dealership and all that. Now, most salespeople would get upset and tell them the same thing back, right? AI said, look, I apologize. I'm sorry you're having a bad day. We're just here to help if you ever need anything. That guy came in that day and bought a car.
Wow.
Because he loved the way he was treated. Well, it was freaking AI that took care of him. But that's a mindset that AI has that we don't have. We know in the car business, Paul, you've been in the car business forever.
46 years, brother.
Yeah. So salespeople, they don't care. I mean, some of them do, but the majority of them, if they turn that switch and you upset them, they'll get your dealership in trouble, because they'll say the wrong things or lose a customer. And AI is all about caring and about helping. It's not, it reacts to your reaction and makes it better.
And also grammatically.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I sometimes see, because salespeople are able to, and they're set up to jump in, and they can have conversations like with the customer, and I can always tell like almost immediately when a salesperson is communicating, because the language is always, the grammar's off. We got spelling issues. We got all sorts of problems, and how much that affects a business is up to the dealership and the OEMs that they're on and all that. But of course, any GM wants their dealership to be as professional and buttoned up as possible. And that's, what we can provide is like consistent, professional, meet the customer where they are and hand them over to, a salesperson. Close it.
And to this day, we've never got a bad review from AI. Imagine that. You get bad reviews all the time from customers, but never from AI. They're always, they even praise how great they are and how nice, and there's nobody there. But,
I've seen general managers at some stores engage in these knockdown dragouts with customers in online reviews on Google that just blew my mind. I would go into the store and I would say to the guy, listen, do yourself a favor. Just take yourself out of the admin part of that review response thing, because you're not doing the store any justice. Let me get to a couple of comments. Nathan says, this thing with AI, like children and pets, you have to train it properly, 100%. And Stan Shearer says, way better grammar than from a human. No joke. And Nathan Williams, and most people still can't spell too. That's true. Not only can't they spell, but then you have auto incorrect that decides to all on its own change words, sometimes sentences, and you don't realize until after you've hit send and moved on, and somebody else questions what you just wrote, and you don't realize that it was even changed, right? So customers come to us via all different channels today. They email us, they call us, they're on various social platforms. It's very important to engage with them on all of the different platforms. Now, are a lot of these set up so that somebody comes in via Instagram, somebody comes in via Facebook? Does it engage with them that way, or is there an intermediary?
So our AI works in all internet leads and only internet leads.
Okay.
So we are not on somebody's Instagram page or in their Facebook Messenger. It is for dedicated, internet leads. There are a couple of hacks to work like campaign leads, but the primary focus is on internet leads only. Okay.
Now, Ricky, do you engage in the various platforms as well, or is it part of the team that does that?
We all do. I mean, I'm a control freak, so I engage in everything. But I give them their lead way and stuff. But I make sure that everything is being answered the right way. Everything goes through our CRM, and I probably get about 150 texts a day, because anything that happens in our CRM or happens with the lead or with AI, I get text on it. I mean, instantly, because if they don't respond to it within a minute or so, I'm like, hey, what's going on. For instance, today we had a guy that was on AI, and he was begging to see if this car was on stock so he can come down and buy the car. And he was driving about 3 hours from Jacksonville to Orlando. And I went in there and I read the AI, and I said to the salesperson, "Hey, Mr. Rivera wants to come down here and buy this Rebel, Oh, yeah, I haven't had a chance to. Well, what do you mean you haven't had a chance? You've been sitting at your desk playing with your phone all day long, So I called the guy and I got him to come in, and before I left, he was buying the car, and he was glad that but those 3 minutes or so, if I wouldn't have gotten an alert and I would have jumped on it, this guy could have stayed in Jacksonville and buy a car there, or go to my competitors in Orlando or, St. Augustine. He didn't have to come all the way to us, but that's because we jumped on it right away. And so don't waste your time buying AI if you're not going to get involved, because you're doing yourself. I mean, the tool works. I can tell you because I don't promote anything that doesn't work, because, my reputation is more important than anything. But it's not going to work if you don't have a process, if you don't have a plan, and if you don't have the right people in there that know how to, send an email without, not reading it or not listening. But AI right now is our biggest hotspot. Everybody, every day when they come in, first thing they go into is AI, see what we missed, and they'll see a lot of it. I answer them at night anyways, or either I or AI. AI sets a lot of appointments for us. I mean, we don't even get a chance, to set at the appointment because, after 3 minutes, they take over it and they set the appointment.
And it's right in the CRM, so you know what your daily plan is when you come in that next day.
Yeah, and it's great because the way it's in the CRM is put in there as AI appointment. So the guy that had the original lead, how they fight over these half deals all the time. And, yeah. So when I see that, I go in there right away and I put the lead in my name. So the customer comes in and asks for me, and then whoever's available, I give it to them. But, and then that salesperson understands that, hey, I better get on this next time because look, they're setting appointments for us. So it helps a lot.
Now you work primarily in the front of the store in the sales department.
I go back and forth. Like on the weekends, I'll shut down that department and put everybody up front because we're so busy and we need but I sit in front of the store and where the greeter is. I sit right there. That way I can watch AI, watch our leads, and also watch the floor to make sure that, because, a lot of salespeople nowadays, they don't want to take ups, and, they'll sit there, let the customers come to them. And you wouldn't believe how many times our GM comes to our store and takes a walk, and he picks up 2 ups. And then, of course, we have to hear it,
Right. But you don't handle with the service part of it.
We haven't got there yet. We're working on that. But we wanted to see how this went with the sales.
Okay.
But that's where it's coming next. The service is coming next,
So your system, Peter, it handles sales and service.
Yeah, so there are 2 tools there. So we have our Sales AI Copilot, which handles all internet leads, and then we have another tool that is our Service AI tool. And the way that I think about them is, the difference between them is, Sales AI is there to be the blocker, the tackler for leads coming in. And Service AI, you have the other problem. We need to retain business. We need to bring customers in. And how do we do that? I mean, how do you send messages out to a DMS that might have 25,000 people in there? It's a overwhelming task for human beings, and the volume of correspondence that needs to go out to get business to come back is vast. We know that it's kind of a numbers game in terms of what you need to put out to get back in maybe 15%. So what Service AI does is that it ties into a dealership's DMS and can understand where customers are in their service journey. So, looking at the, previous RO for a customer and categorizing them into, abandoned customer, first service, next service, etc., and sending out messages to those customers to gently remind them that they're due for service. And again, this is a volume game. Like we will send out maybe 7 messages, for instance, to a next service customer over the course of, let's say, 3-4 weeks or so, and saying, hey, Paul, it's me, it's Peter again at the dealership. Just wanted to remind you that, it's been a little while since you came in. And the difference here is that it is prescriptive messaging that's going out to customers. It's not like a marketing email or anything like that. This is a professional message, email or text that's going out to people to remind them to book service. And from the huge amount of data that we see, we know that it takes a average customer for, let's just say, a next service customer, it takes about 3.5 messages before they even engage back, right? And so if I sat down even the keenest 22-year-old or first job out of college type of thing to a BDC or a service manager, they, if you put 1,000, you said, hey, here's 1,000 customers, send them a message, right? I need you to get out to them this week. They might be able to send one message, like maybe in a week or two, but the reality is that they need to be sending 5 messages to those 1,000 people to get 50 to come back or whatever, right? And it's impossible. It's a game that is impossible for human beings to really play in, I would say, successfully. And so what AI can do is just take, again, that sort of administrative work off of the laps of a service person. And then what they bring back is by sending out all those messages and getting customers to engage. Now the service department can focus on the ones that come back in and say, all right, we've got 25 customers here per day that are coming back. We need to get them scheduled, et cetera. So that's kind of the other side of the coin, which is trying to do the outbound work to retain service business and ensure that we've got customers that maybe had fallen off previously. They're now back in. They're in the ecosystem and they're coming in every 6 months or so and making sure that they're customers for life.
Well, what I like about this is that, for one, we lose a fair amount of customers to the aftermarket. 7 in 10 customers, according to a Cox Automotive study, and that's not even a recent study. Okay, that was some time ago. So I can only imagine what it is right now. So basically, the way it works in most stores is that the customer books an appointment, comes in, maybe you schedule the next appointment, maybe you don't. But after a while, if the customer drops off, it's like they're off the radar, right? Nobody knows about them until you then go run a report, a lost soul report, and then you contact those people. And who knows how timely that really is. So what I like about AI, and I'm not sure if they all do this or not, but a fair number is it'll look at your entire database of all of your customers, see who's been in and when, see what they did, what may have been recommended, when they may be due for the next service, and then engage those customers all at the same time. It's like setting a big net, right? When a fishing boat goes out and they drop huge nets over the side of the boat, they bring up a bounty, right? They bring up so many fish, right? And that's kind of how I liken the AI program, is because it's the same type of a net that you cast over all these people that are in your database. And yeah, maybe not all of them respond, but it at least gives you a picture, and then you can formulate additional plan on how to reach out to those people. Now, is that something that's set up as an automatic cadence, or is that, the AI is so, like a prompt? Is essentially a prompt that's created that then has free reign to act within the confines?
So it looks, as you're saying, it looks at repair order history and the history of the customer and uses predictive analytics, both in terms of mileage and also timing, to send messages, right? So on day one, for instance, you sign up with us, we go through the implementation process, get it all signed up, right? Day one, the AI looks at the DMS and says, okay, 6 months ago, who was here 6 months ago? Let's send those first people their first volley of messages to remind them that they need to come in for their next one. Okay. Day two, we've got, we go 6 months from there, and there, et cetera. So it starts to snowball. And then, following up with messages, day 1, day 3, day 5, day 10, whatever, right? To remind customers gently. Again, the idea here is to not overwhelm customers. Like, we're not trying to slam them. We're trying to prescribe them actual, real, come back in for service. And I always think of myself in these types of situations I've got an 18-month-old child, and I forget things all the time between work and family and everything else. And it's like the beauty and convenience that these types of things can provide you once you start to trust in them as a consumer and understand that they are helpful and convenient. I pay, honestly, I go to dealerships and things like that because I pay for the convenience of not having to worry about these things versus even going to like a lube place where I'm like, oh, I got to set this up. I'm not bopping around looking to save $5 or something like that. Like having my life be managed, honestly, in certain ways is really helpful. And we see that all the time with customers as well, because they'll respond back to the AI and just say, oh, thank you so much for reminding me. I forgot. I appreciate the follow-ups, et cetera, et cetera. Like the volume and follow-up game is something human beings suck at, and it's something that AI is literally designed for, to then create a conduit between the customer and the dealership.
I'll tell you a funny story. So I like the fact that the AI is kind of soft sell, if you will. That's more conversational. It's more add value. There's what's in it for you type of thing to come in. Because you're right, people aren't necessarily in that mode. My late friend Vito Bonanno, who I worked with, loved the guy dearly. The guy was a hammer, okay, on the phone. It was incredible. We worked at Lexus together. There were 3 of us in one area of the showroom, and we were workhorses. And I'll never forget, there was this guy from the hospital. Vito was calling this guy, and while he's having a conversation, or I thought he was having a conversation, hello? Call got disconnected. Calls the guy back. Hey, it's Vito again. Hello? Vito's getting frustrated because the call keeps getting disconnected. So he calls the guy. I think it may have been on the 4th time. He says, yeah, there's something wrong with the phone because it keeps disconnecting. And I hear this guy yelling through the phone at the top of his lungs, no, it's not disconnecting. I'm hanging up on you. Stop calling me. Stop effing calling me. And the guy hung up the phone. So the AI having a more normal conversation that's not pounding somebody into submission, for some might be a welcome addition to their phone team.
Yeah, I mean it's there. It really is prescriptive too, right? Like you haven't been in, at least for the dealership's understanding, you haven't been in a year. Like your car needs service, and we're reminding you that this is a valuable asset for you. You should take care of it. Come back in and make sure that you're running. And I think now more than ever, obviously, with what's going on with potential tariffs and all this kind of stuff going on, like people are gonna be needing to take care of their cars probably longer and better than they ever have. And so for dealerships to really be able to focus on that. And I've never talked to a dealership that has a DMS that they say, oh, it's clean, it's ready to go. Like it is massive usually. Some of the Toyota stores I've talked to that have 100,000 customers, and I would talk to a BDC agent, where do you start? Where do you even start with that volume of customer data to be able to try and, clean it up and really be prescriptive in your outreach?
Name files.
Yeah.
Name files.
Yeah, don't get me
It's all over the place, right? And so the AI, as I said, when we configure it, it goes in there and it just takes that administrative work out of someone's hands, because a computer is just better at creating text and email conversations than any human being can at scale, right? Like one conversation, with a cadence. I mean, a human being, as we're having right now, those conversations are obviously going to always be the best. However, they're not scalable. Like you can't have a service BDC rep having an hour-long conversation all the time.
Correct.
Like, just is not scalable. So trying to take that work, the sort of administrative type work off of their plate so that they can focus. I mean, they can call people and to spend time on the phones and build relationships with their customers rather than having to bang out 10 emails to people who might not respond to them.
Now, Ricky, you're in an area where there's a lot of Latinos. So does this then communicate with them in Spanish?
It does. I mean, we haven't had really haven't had any issues with it. We've done really well, and a lot of the Hispanic customers, me and two other people handle them ourselves, so they never get that far into AI because we jump on them right away.
But as far as the outreach, is the outreach in Spanish?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And so we have a different system for different, as far as Hispanics get different Spanish emails and all that, nothing to do with anything else. And
Proper grammar. Proper
grammar, yeah, not that Google that everybody does.
Right.
Like Google that upsets people because you call people names when you do that.
Yeah.
But going back what you guys are talking about, the service drive. Right now, what I want to do is that I want to start it off with when they set an appointment for service. I want AI to reach out to them and let them, thank him for the appointment, confirming the appointment, but also letting them know that, hey, tomorrow is test drive day. What car would you like to test drive while you're here waiting for your vehicle?
Okay.
And so that right there is going to open up a lot of appointments for us because nowadays nobody really. I mean, there's only a few stores that work the service drive, and what blows me away in the car business is that we sell a car to a customer every 3 years, but the customer comes in for service every 6 months. Wouldn't you rather talk to that guy that's there all year round than the guys that see 3 years from now? And so, like you said, we're still behind in the car business, and we don't think we are, but we are. I mean, we're missing a lot of opportunities that this is going to help us a lot with.
Now, so this streamlines the process of making appointments. So now when they come in, the team's got to be really trained up to pick up where it left off.
Yeah.
That's an area where people miss.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, like I said, with the 4P process, the number one is the game plan. Number two is the people. You got to make sure that you have the right people that are going to be willing not only to do this. And a lot of these young kids that don't have car experience, but they love social media and they love sending videos and they love talking to people. They're your perfect candidates. And I remember in the old days when we interviewed people, the first thing we did is we look at their Facebook, and if they were active in Facebook, we don't want to hire that person. He's all over the place on Facebook everywhere. Well, now that's the guy we want, or that's the girl that we want, because you know what? That's free advertising for my dealership. So absolutely, and that's when I ask him when I interview somebody. That's the first thing I ask him. Are you active in social media? And if they say, oh yeah, I'm active in all of them, oh great, where can you start?
That stuff works.
Yeah, that stuff is great. I mean, that your best advertising in a dealership that's free is the person that's got 100,000 followers on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, especially the Latino market. Almost 100% Latinos, they're on WhatsApp as far as phone calls. And it's because it's free. It doesn't cost them anything. So if you're in Puerto Rico or you're one of these other Venezuela and those countries that you pay a fortune on the phone, if you're going to call your relatives or friends in the United States, guess what? It's free on WhatsApp. And then the other one is Instagram. Instagram, if you want to reach the Hispanic community, don't advertise on Facebook. Don't advertise on, even though Facebook owns Instagram, advertise on Instagram. Instagram is where all the Latinos are. That is the number one source for Latinos is Instagram.
Wow, I didn't know that. All of my European and Caribbean friends call me on WhatsApp for the same reason that you mentioned. Now, it's the AI. Does it do more languages beyond just Spanish?
It does. The ones I typically, honestly, I really only see Spanish, but it can do that. Most people who, I have heard from others, they've seen like Mandarin in there, but it's pretty uncommon, honestly.
Okay. So the reason I ask is because there are those stores where, I've got some stores I go into in Queens, and they have a population that speaks Mandarin Chinese.
Sure. Yeah. It can. Like I said, the ones that I see typically is Spanish.
Okay. Now, Ricky, as far as videos and things like that, does the AI send out any videos, or is that the personal follow-up?
No, that's us, because my first email that we send out to customers is, we thank them for, hey, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, we thank you for choosing this vehicle. By the way, it's in stock and great choice. I'm going to be sending you a video soon. So then they go out there, they do a walk around of the vehicle, they show their face. And so we use a company called Co-Video that does really well for us.
Familiar with that.
And it works great. And it works great with e-leads. It's what we use. And so, but people don't understand, videos are huge. And I know, some people say, oh yeah, for years it's been huge. It's not just started yesterday or 2 years. I mean, I was talking about this in 2013, how video was really, and here's why. We've had customers that come in and they've told our managers or our GM that I was on my way to this other dealership, and the reason I came here because I got this video from Pam, and it actually showed me the color of the car, how cool it was. So I turned around and came here, and so those are the little things, because face it, a lot of us are lazy. I mean, we're not going to, it's hard enough to get them to respond. Like some of the people that say, well, I follow up until I buy, they buy or die. That's not true.
Right.
Follow up 3 times. Hey, you're in a great mood there, buddy, because nobody does that.
7 to 11 is what we need in automotive.
Oh,
7 to 11.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's our AI is set up to do 21 follow-ups over the course of 52 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it does that. With text being, there's 4 messages over the course of the first 10 days, and 17 emails that will go out over the course of 52 days, because exactly as you're saying, it's a game. I mean, even if you find 5 deals, like just free found revenue that you can pull out from follow-ups. And a lot of times the conversations that I can see when I see follow-up conversations, a lead will come in and a person will say something like, I just got that bonus. Like, I put it in and I, 30 days later, like it came in, like I closed that deal. I got my commission check, whatever. They put in like a soft lead, and then whatever they were waiting for happened, or they found out their wife is pregnant and they need to get a bigger car or something along those lines. I see it all the time. And so
add value messaging, right? Add value messaging as opposed to, you ready to come in and buy a car?
Yeah.
You ready to come in and buy a car? My manager wants to meet with you. That's one of the great things about it. So you certainly go beyond the 7 to 11 that's really required in automotive, but you're always bringing different things. You're adding value. And what I like about it too is that, let's face it, if a salesperson gets 2 no's on 2 phone calls, they're pretty much done with making phone calls. Whereas the computer, they don't care, right? Yeah. They're just going at it from a different angle each time. And when you're at the point, you may nudge them right at the point where something happened. And now they're in a position to do business with you. So now when they come in, you've got that fresh salesperson that doesn't have the baggage of all the no's they heard calling this person, and they're able to attack it fresh. So I think it's a refreshing way of looking at it. It's not everything, and AI seems to be the latest buzzword today, right up there with some of our other favorites. But what I would say to people is look into it, because it can help you do more things better than you're not doing now. I know this for a fact because I've been in the business and I talk to colleagues and coworkers and dealerships all the time that struggle with the basics of responding with quality, and then the dedicated follow-up that you need in order to be successful. You can't just buy a tool, plug it in. This is not the Ronco rotisserie, right? As Ricky says, you need the people. It's a people business first, but let's work smart instead of working hard by leveraging those things that can take care of many of the mundane things that take our focus off of the game. So with that, we've come upon another hour. The hour seems to vaporize. It happens so fast. So I appreciate you guys coming on. Any final thoughts, Peter or Ricky, that you want to leave before we sign off?
Yeah, I mean, I would just echo kind of what you were saying there, is that, AI does not sell a car, right? So cars are sold by people, relationships are maintained by people. But with that said, to allow for relationships and car sales and everything to really blossom to its more full extent, AI can be there to help facilitate that. Just as the same way many other tools in a dealership are utilized in a similar fashion. 40 years ago, you could open a dealership without a computer in it, write it all down on paper. That's impossible today. And the same thing is true, probably in 5 years, if not less, probably with these tools, you will not, be able to run dealerships as effectively as you would like without leveraging the tools that are available in the market to really create those conduit relationships between your customers and the dealership.
Ricky?
Yeah, and I would say, if you want to make more deals and you want to, take care of your customers and you want to cut back on your bad reviews, try it. Try it and you will see the difference. We did, we saw the difference. And it's just, I'm glad we did, because, we're having a monster month, which, we're all excited about it. And so, but yeah, just try it. And I guarantee you it's going to do well for you. Unless you have a killer team, then, and don't forget videos. Keep doing their videos. That's really, really important.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, thank you for being on. Thank those that watch live and those that watch on the replay. I hope you have a safe and successful next week. And guys, stay on here after we log off for a minute. I wish you a safe and successful next week, and we'll see you next week on Sunday Night Live. Thank you for watching.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.